And this is a very elaborate report coming just 5 days after the launch of both manifestos for NASA and Jubilee. But there has been criticism now that both manifestos just look like a paraphrasing of the Vision 2030. According to this article here, this is because Kenyan politics is mostly about realignments and swapping of the shift on the ground, so to speak. Case in point is the fact that, according to this article, there has not been an incumbent president who has won re-election on the same party ticket that gave him the initial mandate, and no ruling party has lived to launch a second manifesto. So this brings in an issue of consistency, so to speak. Let's begin with you, Captain, especially just first of all your thoughts on the difference. Is there much of a difference between the two manifestos that were launched this week?
Well, there is one major difference we are seeing, in the sense that the Jubilee side had a beautiful and colorful manifesto in 2013. Within the 4.5 years they are down the line, for sure, we are not seeing them to have completed implementing and executing whatever they promised as their values and progress in that manifesto. Coming up with another manifesto now is a clear indication manifesto has no meaning to our political leadership. Manifesto is basically a description of a political agenda, and it must have consistency and provide immediate and long-term solutions to governance, good governance. You remember Winston Churchill said, bad leaders are elected by good people. Bad leaders are elected by good people. We go out there feeding our people with manifestos that even you are not able to attain and achieve practically. Manifestos have turned out to be in Kenya what I may call, in summary, political bargains, in the sense that today you will see Jubilee as a party merged with over 14 parties that collapsed, or rather were forced to collapse and close shop to be part of Jubilee party now.
Right.
Some of those parties by then, 2013 elections, were affiliated or working with either ODM CORD or ANC, like UDF in this case, was a party that worked with Musalia Mudavadi. Parties come together because they share common platforms, they share common ideology, they share same values. So you want to tell me yesterday you were in CORD because you are having same values in terms of political ideology and the manifestos. Then all of a sudden come this election, you have changed to believe in something else, you have gone to another party, Jubilee. Notwithstanding that, we are having a situation with our candidates. Immediately after the party nomination primaries, now we have an endless list of independent candidates who are almost the same size as those who are sponsored by the parties, who are nominated by the parties. Now, we lack this kind of commitment to political and consistency to political value. It starts with the candidate and the leadership from top to bottom.
Right.
This is where we get seriously challenged in Kenya, and it translates to corruption. It forms an icon and a cornerstone for corruption. When you have got no values and respect, it's like faith. Here seated, I'm a Muslim, you are Christian, but we are Kenyans, we believe in Kenya. That commitment should always be there. And you will see it goes and translates to even a situation where a leadership will address us in their manifesto. Forget about their manifestos. We'll go to a region and say, you Muslims look here, you Christians look here, you believers look here. Last time you elected me, I gave you such and such a position. I want you to vote me back so that I can give you 2 more positions.
Right.
We are not talking about manifestos. We are talking political deals. We are talking political rewards. And manifestos are not making any meaning.
And those
NASA,
political deals and rewards come in especially in the manner that our campaign system is structured in terms of who is funding these campaigns. We haven't seen enough transparency when it comes to that. So let's go back to just learning from history. Amunga, let me come to you. The case of NAC in 2002, that disintegrated later on. Then we had PNU dying a very brutal death. Later on, we had TNA and URP electing the president and his deputy. And now that alliance has loosened, and now we have the Jubilee Party. But what guarantee do we have that both these alliances, Jubilee and NASA, will last and stand the test of time?
It's unfortunate, actually, that no any coalition or any party has, since KANU, has ruled this country, has had two terms. Every time we come into an election, a new outfit comes up that has gone ahead and won the election. But as you put it, I need to tell my brother here, manifestos are not just, they say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. A manifesto is like a working manual. You can aim at the sun, and they say you can end at the moon. But somehow you have to have a plan. You have to have a budget. You have to have a way that you want to follow. And I think it's a bit hard to say that we've not seen these manifestos working. I remember Jubilee when they were coming up, that time it was TNA, they talked about SGR. My brother, I'm sure you've seen the train arrive in Nairobi a few days ago. They talked of laptops in school, or are they tablets? Honestly, we are seeing those things in schools. Right now, we've seen the two manifestos. They are all very ambitious. We look at the one of NASA. Okay.
Yes,
you are
Captain,
very
go
right.
ahead.
These are development initiatives by a system a legitimate system in power. But do you consider the other side where Jubilee is kept together by a power-sharing deal by two regions in the sense that I will rule for these 10 years, my friend, you will take over after me and rule another 10 years. Have you ever thought of a situation where, on this election, had Uhuru dropped Ruto, do you think William Ruto would have stood and supported Uhuru as a presidential candidate? These are the very strong questions and the challenges we are talking about. I see a situation where the bonding, the binding, the keeping together, the coming together of Jubilee is driven by one simple manifesto. Power-sharing deal between two gentlemen.
Isn't that the same case within NASA? Because there has been several allegations.
NASA is a situation where the power sharing we are talking about is not serious power sharing, but we have distributed power to the people of Kenya represented by leadership. In my case, my party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, was supposed to be a very strong presidential candidate this time. When we were going to form NASA and form the NASA coalition, it took so many of us, to all of gentlemen and a lady, including one lady, in the name of National Coordinating Committee. I was there, and I'm a member representing ANC, to decide and agree if our coming together is based on common values and beliefs, so that we can have one black flag bearer.
Captain, I think you did a good job to bring that unison. But I think the main problem that we have here, my friend Ambani here, I don't know. Amunga. It must have been a while since he went home. He talks of tablets. It's highly doubtful that we have tablets in Shirandu. I even doubt that there's a road that goes there. But I think more importantly...
There are tablets in the Shivinga, there are tablets...
More importantly, Michelle, what we need to interrogate is this. Is a government in power justified in setting out a manifesto? In my opinion, I highly doubt. Because if you're already in power, all you need to do is to give us your scorecard. You already came in with a manifesto. For instance, if you promised 5 stadia, and then at the end of a tenure, you are not able to show us even 3, and when queried on this, you said, oh, fine. We promised 5, but we thought 9 will be the most appropriate. And even out of the 9, we haven't even completed 2. Now, there goes in the failing. So to that extent, if you look at what had been promised in 2013 and what has been delivered now, it doesn't inspire any confidence in their ability to deliver. But
I mean, doesn't Jubilee's call is re-electors, so we can finish the promises that we made in 2013. Isn't that justifiable?
It is justifiable, but the re-election must be based on a scorecard. This is what you mandated us as your employees to perform. This is the level of performance that we've achieved. You can look at it from this point of view. But if you look at it, and even as we sit here, it's not that there's nobody who can speak of what they have done. The actual fact is there's nothing that can be spoken of as having been done. Compare this with the manifesto of NASA. I'm not pitching tent for any of these sides, but I'm making a comparative analysis. What has NASA done? It has indicated that there will be transformative governance. It has indicated that there will be eradication of poverty and improved facilities to ensure that employment is provided across the board. And I think those are things that if you look at the level of interaction between the government and the opposition, the government has been put on its toes as regards accountability, corruption, provision of health care, provision of food, provision of security. And these are issues that if you take the two sides together, you're able to see who amongst them or who between the two of them has not been able to live to the scope.
The scorecard Wakili is talking about is correct. Right now, we have got all the reasons to audit the performance of Jubilee because they were in office. But we have got to hold also the other side, NASA, where I come from, accountable to their promises this time round if they come to power. And even if they don't come to power, that should be their agenda as the opposition. In this case, what I see is a situation where, Michelle, today, Kenya is getting compromised to a level our food security is challenged. This is a basic. So whether you have a blueprint manifesto, sugar-pasted, or not, you are challenged by the actual situation on the ground. The actual situation on the ground is indicating that we are going down beyond what we were some 50 years ago.
No, I don't
50 years ago. In the sense that our food security as a nation has been challenged directly today. Kenyans are not having food. We are a hungry, angry nation. We have no food security. To build that capacity.
And bread.
To build that capacity.
Let him finish.
To build that capacity back to where it is supposed to be. They were institutions that we inherited from our colonial masters. We did not build on them. The National Cereal Produce Board was an agency that was meant to always monitor our food security as a nation, and they give early morning systems when they see our storage is going down. And we were supposed to have mitigation factors on how we will counter this one. Michelle, it's very embarrassing. Kenya today is begging for maize, to buy maize. We are begging to buy maize from Malawi and nations that are way beyond our capacity in terms of economy. We are supposed to be providing surplus to other nations, including Somalia, Malawi, and Ethiopia. For God's sake, we are blessed, and it's very unfortunate. We are now talking of manifestos and promises, SGR. We don't need that. We need food on our table.
Is it something that would change depending on the party that comes in August 8th?
First of all, let me just put this clear. As Kenyans, we cannot keep every day crying and just saying that we are hungry. We are not. Yes, there are challenges facing us, each one of us, and not only us. Let's see our neighbors. How is South Africa performing? How is Morocco performing? How is Egypt performing? How is it right now, for example, even in the US, even in Europe? These things, so when you talk about climate change, when you talk about food, when you talk about these things are universal, terrorism. When you say that we are having all these problems, yes, are they only affecting Kenya? You know, we have looked at these things vis-a-vis with what's happening around us. So whenever, every time, and I keep listening to, let us read even the news, even this paper that we have here today. We want to dwell on small issues like, this security guard here. What about issues like the fact that maize arrived in Mombasa yesterday? Actually, as I speak, yes, these things are in the paper here tonight. CBAs have been signed. We are reading here that a doctor will be earning 212,000
Did we really
every
have
month.
To wait until...
This is a doctor who is going to be...
Did we really have to wait until a situation
teachers,
we don't
the other
have
day
food?
signed a CBA.
That is a credible question that Captain Nyeri is asking.
Yes.
Did we have to wait until this last minute for reactionary measures as opposed to prevention measures?
Honestly, these things have been going on. My captain, putting electricity in houses, the last mile project, these things have been going on.
No, we are talking about the food situation. And like you come from the bread basket of Kenya,
I come from
Western Kenya and Kwesero and all these places.
Yes.
I come from a place where green things are very rare. In fact, we long to see something green. And believe me today, Somalia has got more food than Kenya in terms of food security. Believe me, with all the...
Just to wind up this debate, Captain, what would NASA do different to turn around the situation over the last 50 years?
Thank you very much, Michelle. NASA manifesto has very much highlighted the importance of food security. We are going to have an integrated food security strategies. That
Jubilee has a similar one.
That will really go down. It will be bottom up and go down to the farmer. we will address the immediate needs of our farmers at large, the dairy farmer, the agricultural farmer, the horticultural farmer, and all aspects of farming. We are talking of a situation where we are able to provide subsidized fertilizer to our farmers and set up factories close to the farming region. In every economy, the backbone, the breadbasket of every nation is known. Like now when you go to Canada, the Canadian Prairies provides 70% of their food in terms of grain. In Kenya, it is Trans Nzoia and Western Kenya and part of the Rift Valley, mainly that provides us with our food, common item food used by our nation.
Right.
This is a situation now we also have to put these institutions in place. Just try and have a tour walk to the National Cereals Produce Board and the sellers. We have very beautiful big institutions, but they have been run down and nobody has thought about. Some of them have been...
They were run down by previous governments.
Now
not just
we need to go and address, salvage what is left, improve on this, give them capacity, and believe you, Kenya has got all the necessary infrastructure.
Some of the
NASA
principals who have been in government all these years, as he says, they have been run down. Some of the people we can accuse and point fingers at are actually his principles in NASA. But let me say this. When you say these things, my friends, say, when God wills. You can plan, have all these blue manifestos and green and red. But what is God saying about the weather in the next 5 years? This time we have had drought for the last several months.
But just case in point, Munga, some of the countries that we're importing this food from
like
countries
Israel.
countries that essentially should be importing food from us.
Egypt has no rains. It's a Sinai desert.
Egypt
Let's
has
finish this conversation with Wakili Harvey's final comments.
I think this is an argument in the intellectual futility. Kenya is in the middle of the equator. There is no country on earth on the equator that suffers any deficiency of food. And if you look at the statistics, if you look at even the leaders, they said in 2016, we had a bumper harvest of maize. I mean, we can't consume a bumper harvest of maize in 2016 within 5 months. Where has the maize gone? The maize is somewhere here. And it's not an act of God, because God looks like the person to whom blame is always attributed, because there is this perception he can't speak directly. But he speaks, he provides rain, he provides sunshine. These are the ingredients you need to produce food. We have them in abundance, so it's not an explanation. It's an issue of poor governance.
It's a conversation that has been going on for a while, but let us move away from this. Let's focus on page 14 of the Standard. This is the cartoon here, and we always hear here that satire has a way of passing on very strong messages.